Smiles on the way I vibe when I walk into the room. Wind blows underneath the soles of my brand new pair of shoes.
All right. Welcome to the Cold Calling Podcast where we do it live. Today I've got Cassie Moreno on from Reach Desk, and she's going to be joining me to make some cold calls where we make cold calls every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. If you haven't checked out the Cold Calling Podcast on your favorite podcast app, now is a good time to do that. In the Cold Call Podcast, you can hear the best moments from sessions like this with Cassie and also the other side of the conversation so you can get the full picture of some of these cold calls. So definitely make sure you do that. Cassie, why don't you just give us a little bit of background about yourself, your sales experience, why you're qualified to make live cold calls today, and then what it is that you do and who you're going to be calling on today.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Colin. Thank you to everyone involved in the Cold Calling Podcast. I know it always takes a village behind the scenes. But my name is Cassie. I am currently an enterprise BDR at Reach Desk. I started in SaaS as a BDR about a little under a year and a half ago at Reach Desk. And previously, I was actually on political campaigns before that. So it's a huge career transition for me. I used to do communications. So the cold calling that I'd previously done was all to voters, and kind of used that story to leverage my way into SaaS. I know a lot of us have leveraged our way into SaaS using various other life experiences, and it has just been absolutely phenomenal. I really, really enjoy it, and I write a lot on LinkedIn about that career change if anyone's thinking of getting into, becoming a BDR, all of the ways that it's incredible. And so today I'm making cold calls for Reach Desk. I am calling enterprise accounts. So these are accounts that have more than 1,000 employees, and I'm calling into marketing leadership. So marketing, VP marketing, directors of marketing are our bread and butter, and then kind of spans out from there. And we often call sales leaders as well because we sell a gifting platform. So our tool can be leveraged by sales and marketing teams to increase engagement, build pipeline, get more folks to show up to demos, really build those warm relationships that are the bread and butter of sales at the end of the day, and doing it in a really fun way with personalized gifts, which is really fun.
Awesome. I love it. And any secret sauce to your cold call approach?
Oh my goodness.
Do you have a favorite go-to opener or anything that you would say has contributed to having success on the phones for you?
Yeah. So a big one for me was really working on my tone. So you can probably tell from just our brief getting to know each other, I'm a super bubbly person, right? I was a theater kid before I was a campaign kid. So my energy is always 150%, which is great in a lot of settings, but on the phones, it's very jarring. And so I've spent a lot of the past year really working on my tone and talking down and looking down at the floor when I make my calls. Like, I'm not sure if you'll see it on this, but sometimes when I get connected, I'll literally look at the floor. So my voice will drop. So that's a big one for me. And then I do have a favorite opener. Many of us use it at Reach Desk. It was actually our UK BDR team. Shout out to Tom Bertrand if he's watching. But his opener that I've taken and made mine is essentially, hey, Colin, I know this call is totally out of the blue. Was wondering if I can take a couple minutes, explain the reason why I'm calling, and then you can decide if you want to continue the conversation. Does that sound fair? And you kind of just, take a little beat. Does that sound fair? And people are so willing to give you that time because then they're, they like that they're in control. Oh, what is it going to be? I've already been giving permission to say yes or no. And people are great from there. So that you'll probably hear me do that if I get any connects.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to be calling into sales leaders on behalf of Humantic, and I'm going to go ahead and get clicked into Monster Connect here. If anybody listening wants to check out Monster Connect, then go to monsterconnect.com. Go ahead and check it out there, where your reps can have 8 to 10 times more conversations than they do today. Cassie, if you want to go ahead and get going, we can start serving up some conversations.
Yeah, so I have my list ready to go. So I'm just going to start clicking through and we'll see what happens.
Oh, I forgot to hit go. That would help.
Right. First dial is happening. So voicemail.
What's your thoughts on voicemail? Yay on voicemail, no on voicemail. Is there a good time for voicemail?
Depends on my mood, which is not the best answer.
It's an honest answer, though. It's an
It's an
honest
honest
answer.
answer. Some days I'll go all in. I know some people on our team do them every time. I know a lot of LinkedIn leaders say, do it every time. I did hear one, I think it was a podcast episode where someone said, leave a voicemail and tell them the exact time that you'll call again in 2 days, and that they've had success with that. So like, hey, Colin, here we are on Wednesday. I'm going to give you a call at 1 p.m. on Friday. And then you have to hold yourself accountable and do that. But I've heard that.
I don't know. I think I'd have to call bullshit on that one a little bit.
Really? Okay. What are your thoughts on it? And full disclosure, I've never tried it, but I heard that that's supposed to work.
I just don't think that that's effective. I don't think that if you leave a voicemail and say, I'm going to call you back tomorrow at 2 p.m. or, Friday at 2 p.m.
that anybody would answer.
No, I don't think it makes a difference. I think that if it's, first step in the sequence, no voicemail. But if it's like second, third time you've called and you just keep getting voicemail, like, what do you have to lose? Might as well leave a voicemail. Most people are going to listen to it, read it. It's another touch point.
What would you say in your voicemail?
I would just, I would reference some of the other touches.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah, this is Colin with Humantic. This is actually my first time giving you a call here, but do you have like half a minute and I can tell you exactly why I decided to reach out to you today? Oh, I think I'm going to double tap on that one. I think I was a little slow to the draw.
All good. You are ahead of me.
That's why cold calling and live streaming is dangerous. Don't recommend you do it at home. It's only for true professionals.
Yeah, it's multitasking to the max. I'm feeling good. I'm dialing.
All right, no go on the double tap. So, one of the benefits of using Monster Connect is you don't deal with phone trees or voicemails, right? But also, you got to be sharp because when you do get a pickup, you got to get right into your pitch there, or you do get hung up on because there's just a slight little delay.
Yeah.
And then if you delay, then it's not as slight of a delay.
And they'll hang up, right? Actually, I remember having that on dialers that we used to use on campaigns, and we don't have a dialer right now at Reach Desk, but I'm interested to learn more about Monster Connect and how we could get one for sure.
That's got to be one of the toughest cold calls for political campaigns.
Oh God, if you can do that, you can do anything, because it's extremely personal, right? So you're calling someone with the intent of getting them to take this logistically annoying action of going to a voting booth and picking your person who they probably don't know anything about, and you have to pick someone to speak for you, but no one really wants anyone speaking for them. And and it's oftentimes it's young kids making the calls. It's kids who are 15 to 25 are doing this all over the country. And there's stories there for sure, because it's amazing on one hand, and it's also a really tough, a lot of kids try it once and they're like, any career but this, because this is horrible. People will yell at you a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and you're selling SaaS, maybe somebody hangs up or says no thanks.
Yeah.
But when you're calling on those type of campaigns, I'm sure people have some very colorful language.
Yeah. I mean, people will tell you you're a terrible person. People will tell you, horrible things your candidate allegedly did. And even if you know that didn't happen, you just kind of have to nod and be like, well, I understand your concerns. I'll take them back to the campaign. And it was a crash course in cold calling, and I didn't even know it at the time. And then when I, made the decision to switch to tech, really because I had a couple cousins who were in tech who were crushing it. And shout out to Pete and Lauren, my cousins, if they're watching. But explaining that in the interviews, I think gave me some street cred that maybe not every candidate has.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Were you always in SaaS, Colin, or how did you get?
No, I've sold many things. I probably made over 500,000 cold calls in my career. So
unbelievable.
I just am a big believer in the phone still being one of the most powerful tools, regardless of what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
But in today's selling environment, which I'm sure you're aware is brutal. is brutal for everybody out there. I mean, everybody is fighting for the same budget.
Mhm.
Everybody is trying to reduce spend when you're trying to get them to increase spend,
Yeah.
regardless of what you do. Um, the phone has been very effective for a lot of sales leaders that I talk to of like,
Yeah.
wow, we're booking more meetings over the phone than we ever used to in the past. And I think it's just a lot of noise on other channels.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean you ignore the other channels, right? I feel like the
Right.
other channels, like the social touches and the email and stuff, can warm up those phone conversations. So there is some familiarity when you call.
100%. And I would even build off that and, shameless plug for Reach Desk over here. But we're a gifting platform. And, to your point, I think there might be some hesitation from folks around, that's just BDRs throwing bottles of
Hey,
tequila.
Jeff, this is Colin with Humantic. This is actually my first time giving you a call here, but do you have like half a minute and I can tell you exactly why I decided to cold call you today? Awesome. Okay. Maybe I got my wires crossed here. I know it's not your job to help me out, but who would be the best person for me to reach out to? Who makes decisions on new tech for the sales team for you there? Yeah, yeah, got it. Okay. Hey, appreciate it, Jeff. Got a bad data
A
contact there.
classic. I liked your tactic though of being like, hey, I know it's not your job, but can you help me out here? I
Yeah.
like your tone and that was good. But no, just picking up where I left off. So challenge with gifting is kind of this education piece where the explaining that we're not just throwing bottles of tequila at every person in your ICP. It's
Why
connecting.
not?
What a great business strategy. But no, it's connecting with you, Colin. Oh, you mentioned you're in LA. LA is beautiful. Why don't I send you this, beach gift basket? It'll be branded with your company's logo on it. Maybe I'll throw, a Reach Desk logo on it as well with a heart, and building that relationship and connection that you begin on the phone. So to your point, phones, I book most of my meetings through the phones, absolutely. But why do people show up to my demos? I think it's the phone plus that personalized gift, that building that warmth that gets them to fully show up. So couldn't agree more. Phones are super, super solid.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more, Lambert. I love that. So a question, I'm sure, Cassie, that I guess we'll call it eat your own dog food, right? Take your own medicine, whatever the case
Yeah.
is,
Drink
right?
your own Kool-Aid. We drink our
Yeah,
own
yeah.
Kool-Aid over here.
When is the right time for, gifting in the sales process of like, if it's a high value target, do you lead with that? Do you
Yeah.
wait until you get into a conversation or a demo booked or,
Yeah.
walk me through sort of, I'm just curious. And I think people that are out there, prospecting just like us would love to know that.
Yeah. So I think I would almost say more than a question of time, it's a question of coming off as genuine, right? And being genuine. So in the same way that you're not going to, let's say you make a new friend, you meet someone at a workout class and you just hit it off. You're not going to immediately buy that person a diamond bracelet. That would be extremely weird. They would probably be like, wow, this person's not someone in my life. But, maybe next time you hang out, you do offer to grab their coffee because they, paid for your water bottle at the workout class. So I think it's building up the relationship in, the gifting should be in line with how far the relationship has progressed. But there are little ways in the beginning, even if you're just offering a Starbucks card, every BDR and their mother has access to offering Starbucks cards. That doesn't make it unique. No one needs your $5 for Starbucks. But if you take the time and say, I saw you're based in LA, I don't want to assume, but I saw this really cute new matcha shop that opened. I think you should check it out. The owner is a woman and it has this cool story. Here's a gift card on me. If you can't make it to the matcha shop, there's also a Starbucks on there, but there's a Visa on there and you can use that. And kind of building telling this story of I took my time to research you and figure out something about you. And,
Hey, Steven, this is Colin with Humantic. This is actually my first time giving you a call here. But do you have like half a minute and I can tell you exactly why I decided to reach out to you today? Yeah, definitely. I want to make sure that it's relevant. Have you ever heard of Humantic before? Got it. Well, reason I'm reaching out is I see that you're the head of sales there, and I was just curious when your team is kind of reaching out to people, kind of like I am today for the first time, or maybe hopping on a demo. I'm sure they have something in place for researching those people, maybe like Zoom Info, Sales Navigator, something like that. Got it. Awesome. That tells me that you guys value, researching your prospects, which is great. But this next one isn't meant to be like a gotcha or trick question or anything like that. But do they have anything in place for understanding the personality of those people? How to build a winning connection, what their communication styles are, what to do and what not to do in meetings with those people? Anything like that? No, nothing like that. Yeah, well, we work with sales leaders, and head of sales like yourself, and what we do is we help them understand their buyers, just like I mentioned, before they ever meet them. And what we've seen is it helps increase revenue by up to 6.2%, and then response rates on outbound by up to 256%. Would it be a terrible idea for you and I to grab 15 minutes sometime next week? Yeah. Yeah, so it's a little bit of both, right? We give you the insights into the people, and then we do help you write messages with AI in the communication style of those people, and then we bring all these insights to all the places that your sales team's already spending time: LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, CRM, Sales Engagement Platform. I know I'm calling you a bit out of the blue, but if we spend like 15 minutes together next week, we could see if it would be a good fit for your team. Hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, just to be efficient, why don't we do this? Because May's right around the corner. Can we grab a time for the third, which is May, 2 weeks from today? If I'll send you some information between now and then to make sure we can have a pretty impactful conversation. And if for some reason we need to push it out, we can. Okay. Um, and you are Mountain Time Zone, right? How about 12 o'clock your time? Okay, great. And then what's the best email for you? Okay, great. So I'm going to send that out for the 26th, 12 o'clock your time. All right. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. All right. Take care.
I am learning from you in real time, Colin. I really, really liked the way you said, I don't know exactly how you said it, but essentially, I'm going to make sure I'll send you some resources, make sure we have a really impactful conversation. And then if we need to push it out for any reason, love that.
Yeah. People don't want to feel like you're trying to pressure them into a meeting, but
Yeah.
when you're selling to sales or even marketing, like they get it.
They get the
right?
game.
Like, hey,
Yeah.
we're on a call. Like he said, let's call me back in May. It's like, okay, you're obviously interested. Don't make me call you back in May. Let's just put something on the calendar for 2 weeks.
And that's it. My shout out to Garrett. My manager's always saying, what's going to change in 2 weeks? The answer is absolutely nothing. If anything, they're just going to be 2 weeks behind, the problem that they could have solved by meeting with you 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah. Interesting thing is I said, let's do it in 2 weeks. And he's like, actually, that week's bad. Let's just do it next week.
Incredible.
So there we go. Steve. All right. Always got to make sure you send those invites like right away.
Immediately while you're on the phone, right? Just before meeting with you, I had one. I got to do on the phone. It's always a good feeling.
All right. You getting any connects over there?
Not yet. I am dialing, but this is when I, reminder to ask my leadership for a dialer again, because I really.
Well, you guys got some good jams going on over there.
Okay, can you hear it?
Yeah. I'm just sending this invite real quick. Oops. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So meeting booked on that one.
I'm on my manager's trying to ask me questions.
All right. All right, I'm back in now. So let's see. The comments having listening person. Oh yeah, nice Lambert. I think that's Lambert had a really good insight there, right? Is actually listening to your prospects. Huge. Most people just try to call and like bulldoze
barrel
over people
through
and just go for the meeting and go straight for the jugular, and like that's just gonna get you nowhere.
And I actually, Colin, I don't know if you've ever used this. I have a feeling you've tried every, tactic in the book, but I love to say, if someone is kind of upfront with, I'm not the right person, we're not going to do this here, kind of that type of language, taking a step back. And I always think of the board game Clue. I don't know if you ever played it, but I loved it growing up, and just kind of convey that I'm really just here to do some detective work. Like, I'm not asking anything from you, if anything, I just want to be helpful to you. But like between us, can you give me one more hint towards the location, the weapon, the suspect, but really, who would be the decision maker and if there might be a need for a product.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, most people are generally good people and they like to help.
Yeah.
So
I think we're actually hardwired to help. I would say that's like an evolutionary thing, right?
yeah, it makes you feel good
Totally.
if you have any soul at all, which is
Right.
most people. Not
Right.
all,
Right.
not all, but
You
most.
get the occasional, like we said, sometimes people, but again, with having a gifting tool at your disposal, I love getting those people on the call, because if you can get folks to understand that you're on the same team, you're just here to kind of check out a problem, see if there's any way to help them, and then what's in it for them, if they're able to be helpful, maybe they'll get a lunch or a matcha latte like we talked about, or a bottle of tequila.
Where in the heck might somebody find a gifting tool like that?
Well, it's so funny you might ask. So again, for folks who are just dropping in, I work for a company called Reach Desk, and we are the global data-driven gifting provider for B2B companies. And you can go to reachdesk.com, I guess. You can go to Reach Desk on LinkedIn. You can come to my LinkedIn, which is how I would prefer you get in touch with Reach Desk. And I'd be more than happy to send you some gifts and chat with you about leveraging really, personal relationships to build pipeline.
Yes. All right, so we're like halfway through here. You haven't managed to get any connects yet, have you?
Not yet. I will say sometimes I'm chatting with you instead of doing the list, but
yeah,
right now I'm trying to
multitask cold calling is not not recommended.
I have ADHD in the first place, and then you add these 5 tabs I'm working in. Not the best. But I had some earlier in the day. This always happens. I'll have connects all day, and then I'll join one of these things, and it's like you would think I don't even have a list in front of me.
So let's see. Let's look at my dashboard here so far. So I've been dialing for about 30 minutes so far. 63 dials, 3 conversations, 1 meeting.
But I guess, Colin, I would love to learn more about Monster Connect itself. And is it a dialer? Can you just catch me up on what it is?
It's a parallel dialer. So there's multiple people calling on your behalf. So they're real people making calls. And then anytime they reach your prospect that you want to talk to, then it beeps in your ear and you just get right into it. So at any given time, there's like 8 to 10 calls happening while I'm waiting for one of those to connect to the person I want to talk to.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds like a game changer.
Yeah, typically, if I dial for an hour, it can have anywhere from 10 to 20 conversations.
That's
amazing. The one thing I think that is hard for a lot of people is like a lot of job changes and layoffs and stuff. So like, even if you were operating with good data before, it's not as good as it was before with so much, change happening.
Yeah, I would say we've even seen that comes up a lot with us where, even someone's LinkedIn makes it look like it's accurate, and then maybe it wasn't, affected by the whole situation, which is tough. It's really, really tough. I have like a weird amount of numbers not being connected this hour.
I need to refresh a new list. So do you typically have like set times for cold calling each day, or
Yeah.
what's your method
So
to
we do.
then?
So we're obviously, you're able to cold call as much as you want, but we do have a couple of team blocks. So we do from 10:30 to 11:30, and then from 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern time. And then I know a lot of us see a lot of success on kind of Friday afternoons into the evenings. People are very friendly. So, if I'm feeling ambitious, I would say this happens more in the winter than in the summer. But taking, maybe call through to Friday at 7, and a New York City 7, I would say, is in any
Hey
other city
Matthew,
5.
this is Colin with Humantic. How you doing? Good. I'm actually calling you for the first time here. Do you have a minute so I can tell you exactly why I decided to reach out to you today? Yeah, but definitely not trying to sell you anything today. Really just wanted to, introduce my company to you, possibly when I'm not calling you out of the blue. Sure. Not a good day. I would I would say I disagree, but sometimes you gotta read. I mean, you can read people's tone where you can just tell not a good day. Doesn't matter what you say, it's going to be a lose situation. So let's see.
100%.
Interested.
I noticed, Colin, you also do in the beginning. I'm actually calling you for the first time here.
Yeah.
Tell me why you like to use that one, or do you have a good track record with it?
Yeah, I just there's a lot of different variations of that, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, hey, this is a cold call, or hey, I know I'm calling you out of the blue. I know you weren't expecting my call.
Yeah,
Whatever the case is, those are all very similar. I don't think any one is necessarily better than the other.
yeah,
It's just whatever one you're most comfortable with, right?
yeah,
I know a lot of people that love permission-based openers. I know a lot of people that don't.
yeah,
And I would say that there isn't one camp of folks that use them or don't have more success. It's whatever you're most confident, right? So I like permission-based openers. Sometimes I'll try different things. One that people often use that I've used many times and even had success with um, is just, how have you been?
yeah,
But for me, I don't feel as confident with that one. It doesn't feel as natural for me.
yeah,
So I don't tend to use it as much.
yeah. I went through that myself. We did have a period at Reach Test when we were using the Have You Been, and it didn't work for me, but it worked for others on the team really well. But I haven't felt so comfortable with an opener since I've come upon the permission-based one that I do right now.
Part of it really depends on who you're calling too, right? People think that there's one way to do it, but what matters more is actually who you're calling.
Yeah,
And different people are going to respond differently to different ways of how you open the call.
absolutely. And I would say having enough research to get yourself through the call as someone with a little bit of not expertise, but kind of expertise. And that's where I've actually been using ChatGPT to do some of the prep for that. And I've written about this on LinkedIn, but essentially for each account I work, I'll have ChatGPT write up who is their ICP and who do they sell into, so that I can go straight into hey, Colin, I see you guys are trying to sell into enterprise companies. Those are folks, a lot of decision makers, a lot of people at the table. Just curious how you're reaching out to so many people and getting them all on the same page.
Yeah, I like that. I think that the more prepared you can be, it's going to separate you from the people that are not,
Yeah.
Which is the majority.
Do you really think so? Because sometimes I feel like everybody must be as prepared as us.
No. I mean, there's so many people that if somebody asked them, and I've even done this before where I load up a list and I'm not that prepared, haven't done that much research. I love to pull up the LinkedIn profile. Like as soon as they answer, I like to pull up the LinkedIn profile. Just having a visual of who you're talking to
It's huge.
for me is really nice. But yeah, many people, if they were calling and got asked the question, do you even know what we do? I would say majority would say no. I have no, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, right. And I think a lot of BDRs kind of live in fear of that a little bit. And I remember very early on as a BDR, someone said, I asked some question, which is not dissimilar from the questions I do now, curious how you're driving that engagement call in. But the guy on the other end was like, aren't you supposed to have done the research? Shouldn't you know how we do that? And that was terrifying because I had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing is there's a lot of technology today that can make these things a lot easier, where it's almost like, how could you not know? How could you actually pick up the phone and not have a, good idea of who they are, what they do, who they sell to, and so on.
And it is very true. I think, when you start as a BDR, it feels overwhelming to do so much research, but use ChatGPT. Then you have research that you can use for that whole account. You can use for, the 10 people that you're going to work. And it's very quick.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm not getting as many conversations as I'm used to having.
Hey, Richard,
for whatever
this
reason.
is Cassie calling from Reach Desk. I know the call is totally out of the blue. Do you mind if I explain the reason why I'm calling and you can decide if you want to continue the conversation? Does that sound fair? I appreciate it. Thanks. So essentially saw your role managing director over at Citrix, knowing that Citrix sells into enterprise businesses. These are going to be folks that have a lot of decision makers, whether it's financial services. I also know that you do healthcare and government as well. Was just curious how you guys are driving engagement these days from your prospects. So driving engagement. So, and I know you're a leader in the go-to-market strategy. How are you keeping folks engaged? Maybe folks you met at an event and you want to stay top of mind. How are you doing that? Yeah, no, just while I have you, Richard, we're a gifting platform. Do you know if Citrix has ever done any sending gifts to prospects or customers before? Got it. No worries. Thanks, Richard. All right, that was a tough one. At least we got to connect, but he was at the vet. Which is a little right in my mind immediately goes, okay, I can send him a pet gift, worst case scenario. But he's at the vet.
Hey, Tom, this is Colin with Humantic. This is actually my first time giving you a call. Do you have half a minute and I can tell you why I decided to cold call you today? He hung up on me.
We're
calling him back. Calling him back.
Get it.
I think you got. Hey, Tom, this is Colin with Humantic. We got disconnected there. He hung up again. Call him back again. No, I'm just kidding.
I was Colin. I was about to be like,
your jaw dropped for a second there. Oh, man.
Oh my God.
I think that you got. He sounded like he was in the car. Not everybody likes cold calls in the car.
Nah.
But anyway, I think you got a little thrown off there because you got to connect. You're like, oh my gosh, somebody picked up. What do I do?
I forgot everything I've ever known about cold calling. I was in my mind, I had already been like, okay, connect's not happening. This is just fun times with Colin. And then I suddenly had to talk to someone about Reach Desk. But he was at the vet. He, it's a director of go-to-market strategy. So that would be not our traditional ICP, but still someone who, should be familiar with the customer life cycle, with prospect engagement, building pipeline for sure if you're doing go-to-market strategy. And he, mentioned a couple of times he wasn't familiar with how they're nurturing prospects. He wasn't familiar with, whether they had a gifting platform or not. So a little bit trickier one, but I'm going to send a pet gift to follow up.
Would that, okay, so I like how you did show him that you know a little bit about him and what they do.
Yeah.
I think that was huge. Not everybody does that, so I really liked that a lot. I think it's a little hard to probably get any further in a conversation with somebody, but hey, you know that he's a pet person, which is a huge win, right?
Yeah, it is. And it really, really is. And again, to going back to just, having a gifting platform in your arsenal. Not everybody's going to tell you on a cold call that they have a pet or that they're at the vet. But for the ones that do, right? Like I'm willing to bet that Richard cares a lot more about his animal that brought him to the vet that day than he does about buying software. And so if you're able to meet him at that point of what he actually cares about, can maybe open up a conversation.
And you get to show him how to keep people engaged.
Totally.
It's like a win-win.
That's exactly how, I think we do have this not upper hand, but the privilege of being able to use our tool as super users and demonstrate that.
Yeah. I would say it's an unfair advantage.
An unfair advantage. You should work for a gifting platform. We have a blast every day.
There's good music. Not a lot of connects though.
Don't say that. No, nobody watched this. So funny.
I think more than anything, you just got to make cold calling fun.
Totally. And make it like not scary too, right? Like lower the threshold. And, And my manager with me, when I was having a tough time, he just worked on just get the connect, right? Like your first goal should just be get them to answer, make sure you have the right people with the right data, the right numbers. And then once you've gotten that tiny, just getting them to answer, then you can work on just your opener and like kind of breaking it down really, really into that. And that was what ultimately helped me overcome kind of just months of, floating by.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that you also mentioned, right, is that you've worked on a lot is tone. And I know people talk about tone a lot as, hey, Mike, this is Colin with Humantic. This is actually my first time giving you a call. Ah, okay. Got it. Hey, thanks for that. Wrong number. I think a lot of people, when they get nervous, they tend to like speed up, right? Mm-hmm. And slowing down actually can be really efficient and just showing that you're confident, right? But in some cases, depending on who you're calling, like speeding up can be more effective, right? So like matching and mirroring even their tone can be helpful. But you don't want to sound like you're somebody who just had 13 cups of coffee either.
No, that's what was challenging for me.
Even if you have,
right? Hopefully you haven't had 13, maybe 3. But yeah, no, tone has been a big one, and my whole life people have told me I speak fast, I have a lot of energy. These are things I like about myself. I like that I get excited when I tell stories, but when I'm on cold calls, it was a challenge. It just was not working, and couldn't agree more with your point of slowing down and just being aware, in your professional life in general, that typically people who are confident and maybe a little more seasoned in their career tend to speak slower and more deliberately, and don't use filler words as much. They get right to the point. I think that's just a great lesson for career in general, knowing a lot of BDRs, cold callers, are kind of earlier career.
Hey, Chris, this is Colin with Humantic. This is actually my first time giving you a call. Do you have half a minute? And I can tell you exactly why I decided to cold call you today. Yeah, so reason I'm reaching out is really just to introduce my company, Humantic, when I'm not calling you out of the blue. Have you ever heard of us before by chance? Got it. Well, as the SVP of sales there, I'm sure that your team has some sort of process in place, I'd imagine, for researching folks before they prospect or maybe hop on a meeting for the first time. Do they use like Zoom Info or Sales Navigator, maybe something else? Got it. Okay. Next question is really to help me, see how you guys are doing things there today. And it's not meant to be a trick question or gotcha or anything like that. But do they have anything in place to understand the personality of those people, how to build a winning connection, what they should or shouldn't do, and what their communication styles and preferences are? Anything like that? Okay. Well, surprise, surprise. That's exactly what we do here at Humantic. And we've helped SVPs, just like yourself, do two things really: advance pipeline and increase revenue by 6.2%, and increase positive outcomes on prospecting by up to 256% by leveraging our personality AI assistant. I know I'm calling you a bit out of the blue, but would it be a bad idea to let me steal 15 minutes on your calendar next week? Oh yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. I mean, most sales leaders I'm talking to are getting rid of tools, which makes sense for a lot of the nice to haves. But for teams looking to do more with less, that's exactly what we solve for. Would it be okay to tell Matt that you told me to reach out, or should I keep that our little secret? Okay. Yeah. And what's his role? Got it. Okay. Well, hey, thanks so much for your time, Chris. Really appreciate it. All right. Take care. So, he was not really the right person, but I got some helpful information and I got a warm referral.
Beautiful. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah. I love, shout out to Kevin Hop too, because I stole this from him. So sometimes people will give you a name, right? Like, oh, you need to reach out to whoever. But they don't always want to let you like use them as the referral and say, yeah, I talked to Matt, I talked to Chris. He said I should reach out to you.
Yeah.
So it's a fun little way of just saying, hey, Chris, should I tell Matt that you told me to reach out? Or should I keep that our little secret? Just kinda, and occasionally people will be like, no, please don't tell him.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, definitely tell him I said, sounds interesting. Let him know I told you to reach out. He's the person that makes decisions on these things.
Yeah. Even in hearing you say that, I know that I sometimes am guilty of saying, oh, and I don't need to tell him that you're the one that told me. But I like that you actually give them the option and say, hey, should I say? And I know my manager and everyone I looked up to would say, you should do that. You should give them the choice, because sometimes they will be like, yeah, Jeff's my best friend, let him know.
Right. Yeah. And if you're working from the top down, like, hey, spoke to Chris, he said you and I should talk. Here's why.
There you go.
That's just a much warmer way to reach out.
Yeah, that's money for sure.
So we're kind of coming up on time here. Want to kind of wrap things up. So let's see here. I got a referral on this one. So in my almost hour of dial time here, 143 dials, 8 conversations, 1 meeting, and 1 referral.
Wow. And how many? You said 108 dials?
143 dials.
143 dials.
Yeah. So not bad for 44 minutes of dialing. So,
yeah, that's amazing. That I probably make on a good day, I'm making 60 dials over here, and you just made 143 in an hour. So
yeah. I mean, it's you have the unfair advantage with the gifts, and I have the unfair advantage with the dialing tech here, courtesy of Monster
Absolutely.
Connect. So
Absolutely.
but hey, you can go get that pet gift queued up.
That's
Get that
exactly what
pet
I'm gonna
gift
do
queued up.
right after this.
Um,
Yeah, and only one connect there, but did get helpful personal information. Got a good hour in. There's more numbers that I can take out of my list. Over here, if someone doesn't answer 3 times, I'll take it off the list, unless I'm certain that is the person and I need to reach them personally. So a good session either way, and I learned a ton from you, Colin. That was the best part.
Oh, awesome. Appreciate that. And we got to see what it's like for somebody like you to work in an office with great music.
Here it is, where the magic happens.
Most folks are working from home like
Yeah.
myself, but office environment and culture does still exist. Clearly, we have proof right here. So
It does.
Cassie, thanks so much for coming on. Any final thoughts, and then where's the best place for people to maybe connect with you if they want to?
Check me out. Well, yeah, final thoughts is just thank you so much, Colin. This has been such a bright spot in my day. I love sharing what I get to do every day. And especially because I'm kind of a mid-20s career changer. So always love to give a shout out to folks who maybe have never considered software as a career. BDR role is a great place to start, and really everyone can do it. Where you can find me, I'm on LinkedIn, Cassie Moreno with the present emoji, or on TikTok, Instagram as @Cassie J Marino, and I post a lot about my career journey over there as well. And if you are interested in a way to nurture pipeline, build out more pipeline, book more demos, close more deals, definitely check out Reach Desk for your gifting needs.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate it. And if you have not done it yet, go check out the Cold Calling Podcast on every podcast platform that exists, where you can get daily content around cold calling. You can hear the best moments from sessions like this, as well as the other side of some of these conversations. And we'll see you again next week.
Awesome.